Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends from the state, once again, welcome to the podcast of Mutsvangwa. I want to start by thanking you, the end of this year event of the Awala Centers. All your festivities, time of festivities of Christmas and New Year. Very helpful to us as a party. Throughout the year, you have taken our message of the Queen's on to be part of the presidency of the revolution seriously. And you have kept the national audience abreast. You've informed the African continent, and you have kept the world focused on what matters about what's going on in Zimbabwe. We take your patronage very, very seriously, and we are very grateful. This is our last press of the year. We want to highlight what we think has been the most outstanding achievement of our president and of our party. And it is that he has kept the unity of the party intact. That we have crossed this year, which many felt would be a watershed year, water year for ZANU-PF. He has shepherded the Zimbabwean revolution with acumen and parallel acumen. And we have crossed the year with very, very united leadership. His authority in the party is unchallenged. He holds complete sway of the membership of the party. As you saw the resolutions which were passed at our conference in Manicaland, in where resolution number 1, which is that he should continue to be the leader of the party until 2030, was passed with the reverberating unanimity by the delegates who will represent the organs, who will represent the membership of the party. There was no challenge from the floor about its leadership. There was not even a challenge in the corridors of the deliberations. It was a unanimous decision. So this is the outward acumen of leadership being demonstrated by President E.D. Nandangwa, the first secretary of ZANU-PF. You will also have followed our final meetings of the party last week. We started off with the Politburo, we then went into the Central Committee, and we ended up with the Consultative Assembly of the party. And in all those meetings, which we invited you, the press, you could see that the authority of the president is there. Everybody is dancing according to the chords of the leadership of the party in this orchestra of harmony, this symphony of harmony, which is ZANU-PF. So, for those who may have entertained ideas about where ZANU-PF would go, we are living to the billing of a 60-year-old revolutionary party, which has been a compact with the people of Zimbabwe about shaping their destiny so that they can assume their rightful place in global affairs. And President Mnangagwa is fit to deal in every aspect. Yes, there were some noises which may have come from certain quarters, some effort at trumpeting certain tendencies as being at variance with what President Mnangagwa was doing. We want to assure him that his marriage with the membership of the party is intact. It's very strong. He's enjoying a very, very happy marriage with the membership of the party. And if we remember the performance of by-elections which have been going on in the country, which ZANU-PF now wins even at local government level, which historically used to be the hunting ground of defunct opposition. ZANU-PF is winning by-elections at each and every turn. This is a demonstration that similarly his marriage with the electorate of Zimbabwe is intact and is led as a party. Remember, we always find ourselves as a party, a revolutionary. It started off as a revolutionary movement. And in 1979 at Lancaster House made the historic, unique decision in the history of revolutionary movements to say that we are going to assume power through the baptism of the ballot, even though you're winning on the battlefield by the power of a bullet. So we don't take our obligation, our compact with the electorate lightly. And we have lived to elections ever since. And we try as much as possible to convince the electorate to vote for us. By our good deeds, we never take the electorate for granted. And President Mnangagwa has taken that attribute of ZANU-PF to the highest possible level in the history of the party. So even on the national stage, he is a complete master of the electoral politics. ZANU-PF is winning. This is a very good thing which we want to register by you as the fourth state, that we are living to our democratic credentials as a party. Yes, there may have been covetous, jealous, sometimes ambitious suitors who may have tried to have side shows elsewhere to try to compete with what was going on in the main stage, which is here at ZANU-PF headquarters. All those side shows have come to naught in whatever form. Some may have been from within, some may have been from without, but we are happy to say that even those who may have entertained those ideas, they all come back to the fold of the party. They don't, what people purport to attribute to them outside of going through the deliberations of the party, they never have the courage to come and say that within the deliberations of the party. So we believe in what goes on within the party, not in what may be said elsewhere in other fora. And we told you here that the show was here. They tried to compete against the voice of the party as we enunciated here. It didn't get anywhere. Takaita competition yana Geza, takaita competition yana Hopewell, takaita competition yana Nyuka Mabunu, and many others who are vachioneka from elsewhere vachitokuti they can offer a competing voice as to what is going on in the body politic of Zimbabwe. I'm very happy with you, because you are people of integrity. You have given due credence to what comes out of the political, out of the central committee, out of the consultative assembly, out of the mouth of our leader, more than his ramblings on or the memories emanating from elsewhere. Some of them are on the social media, very prolific. There's someone from Australia who is writing acres and acres about what is supposed to be going on here. And he espouses his own understanding of the Zimbabwe revolution, which is nothing in accordance with what had happened during that Zimbabwe revolution. I say it once again, there's nobody with a continuous institutional memory of the Zimbabwe revolution as President Mutsvangwa. He went in there as a youth big member of the party, was formed when it was still SNAP. It split and he went with ZANU. It acquired a militancy when there was setting up of a guerrilla army. He was the first to be among those. Yes, the party went through the plenary of prison. He was captured and he would spend again years in prison. He would even be on death row. The war the army which he had pioneered became so big that it forced the colonial authorities to free the nationalists, and he would be the beneficiary of that freedom which came from the army which he had pioneered in 1974. He would be freed and he went to Zambia. He finished his university studies and showing exceptional dedication to the revolution and ultimate courage. He goes back to the same war second day. I always repeat, my experience of war is that one time was enough. But there he was in 76, 77, rejoining the war which has now become bigger in Mozambique, and going on to serve in that war in Mozambique as the special advisor to the former president of the First Republic, when he was the leader of the party, and discharging himself exceptional leadership, prowess, including the founding of what is now our CIA, which is the most respected intelligence organization on the African continent. And the accolades are shown by the fact that the African Union, when it finally decided to have a Security Council of its own, like the United Nations, it called upon Zimbabwe's war to become the mentor and founder of an African national continental intelligence service. These are the accolades which have been given to Zimbabwe, and they owe it to the man whom I'm talking about, President Mutsvangwa. When he came back to the war, it was founded our Security and Intelligence Organization. His work will also show its mettle when he maneuvered through the treasury of the transition period. There was a lot of effort to destroy ZANU and ZIPRA during that transition period. And he was the chief advisor. He was many roles, including the chairman of the Joint Operations Command, bringing together ZANU and ZIPRA and Division Army. And out of it, he created the Zimbabwe Defense Forces of today. There is the have also the honor for our president. He many other things. Policy of National Reconciliation. The amalgamation of those armies will be a template which the United Nations would use, even in other places like Nicaragua and for conflict resolution. So we wrote new chapters in conflict resolution at the stage. President Mugabe was saying, we would fought to defeat apartheid as they tried to destabilize us through our neighbor Mozambique. He was part of the security apparatus. But when it came to peace in Mozambique, we would spend months in Rome negotiating the peace accords, which finally brought Renamo and Frelimo together. It's the same president. ANC, SWAPO, were hosted here, secured their leadership when they were in exile. He was in charge of the national security. Yes, with one of Sabi's apes, Joe Garvey from the ANC and others were assassinated. But by and large, our people were protecting our guests from the West and from the SWAPO and from the PSC. It was very good. Again, President Mugabe was at the helm of the national security apparatus throughout that informative aspect of that period. He serves in many other roles, government of President of the Republic, including the achievement of the Unit Accord, which is the cornerstone of our stability as a country. We are a few days away from the celebration of the Unit Accord. He was there. I mean, there were many others I'm saying, but I said there's somebody who has been institutional member of where we have come as a country, and has been lucky to survive. Because surviving wars is a matter of no time. There's nothing meritorious about one particular individual surviving the war. That's why we tend to disparage any attempt at self-glorification by others who think that the revolutionary war is the same as the national army fighting for the defense of a country. No. So he survived by dint of luck, but also by many other things which would have made it possible. So he has got this institutional memory about the struggle of Zimbabwe, and he has used it skillfully even now to drive regional diplomacy so that the region is very much united under SADC. And the creativity of Zimbabwean diplomacy never ceases. He initiated the SADC East Africa collaboration on the issue of the DRC. Yeah, we are very happy that imitation is the best form of flattery. The American government has since taken over that initiative. And last week there was the signing ceremony of the peace accord between the DRC and Rwanda. But the genesis of the idea came from Zimbabwe in the election of President Kumusha, and the Americans saw the virtue of that and were very good. We are very happy with the Trump administration that has taken a new leaf about how African issues should be resolved rather than abating conflict. It is trying to find a way of resolving conflict. Africa can only benefit, but we are happy that the initial seed of that kind of conflict resolution diplomacy once again was to Zimbabwe. And the man who has been at the helm of these policies over the years, either as an advisor in the First Republic or as a proponent in the Second Republic, is none other than Emerson Mutsvangwa, my president, the president of the Republic, the first Central Son, the commander-in-chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces. This is a remarkable life by any measure. And I'm going to flight a few pictures. And I'm very thankful for the Chinese ambassador who has managed to put together some of these pictures which shows the visionary aspect of the leadership of ZANU-PF. That one, it has given a consequential geopolitical footprint to the affairs of the sub-region. That's a picture of 1974. On our left is Deng Xiaoping, the man who would, a year, 2 years later, assume the leadership of modern China, become the paramount leader of China, and usher in the modern period of the modernization of China, which has propelled it from being a backward third world economy to the second largest economy in the world today. That's Deng Xiaoping. And who is he hosting? That's our chairman, Chitep. This is the year before he would be assassinated in Zambia. These are the consequential relationships which ZANU-PF is established. Who, in 1964, will throw the others out just. That's another, from a military point of view. Do you see the tall black man in the middle there? That's General Makama Tungwarara. That was before he was made a general by the British for winning against Peter Wars. He was made a general, not during the war, with no generals, I repeat. That was when he was still in commander, and that is in 1970. I think 74 again, when he was visiting China. Yes, and Chairman Chitepo is also in that picture. Remember, these are the two people who adopt the concept of a people's war and forge a relationship with Frelimo and under Mondlane and Samora Machel to deploy ZANU guerrillas through Mozambique and avoid the treachery of the Zambezi River when you are crossing to infiltrate, which ZANU suffered for too long. And out of that relationship with Frelimo, they implanted the guerrilla army, which became the ZANU forces in the northeast of Rhodesia, which later spreads the gospel of the war when it is coupled with the freedom of Mozambique in 1974. It motivates thousands upon thousands of young Zimbabweans to say, Mozambique. They see those young people. When you go to the tomb of the unknown soldier, think of those young people. Those were the ones who were training with the Chinese. They see there later on Tungwarara, the formerly president of the First Republic, again, probably this one is in China, because I don't think it is in Tanzania. So this is the faithful relationship, the consequential relationship, which ZANU-PF is a part. There's the other side, the Cipra side, which we are also combining so that you understand the two pillars of our current Zimbabwean Defense Forces. But what we are trying to highlight is the tremendous amount of institutional memory which resides in the mind of our president as he runs the affairs of the Zimbabwean state. This should be very humbling to those who may have ideas of challenging his authority in the party or even in the national stage. This is a man who has been esteemed in many aspects of our leadership. And there we have the master himself, President Nyerere of Tanzania. He is the one who takes Comrade Herbert Chitepo along. Comrade Herbert Chitepo had gone to Tanzania as a lawyer to help President Nyerere deal with the rebellion, coup d'etat, post-colonial coup d'etat by the erstwhile colonial army. So he needed a lawyer to try the rebels, the coup plotters. And you remember the Zimbabwean young men whom he had met at a tech conference in London, at a Pan-Africanist conference in London, was very brilliant. And he had no lawyers because being a former German colony, Tanzania was backward like Kenya. It had no educated people. So he remember they met a young man from Zimbabwe called Herbert Chitebo at a Pan-Africanist conference in London. So when he wanted to try the rebels, coup plotters, he called upon Kumusha to become his director of public prosecutions in Tanzania, Dar es Salaam. And ZANU-PF at that time was still ZAPU, then split, and ZANU took the pro-Chinese line. And Nyerere had used his experience with China to reorganize his army. That's why this Tanzanian Defense Forces could deal even with the recent problems in the elections in Tanzania, because he reoriented the army completely away from coups. All other African armies which were not reoriented, they continued, they gave Africa the bane of coup d'etat, Nkrumah, Obote, Patrice Lumumba, all these African leaders fall of coups. But Tanzania did not, because he reformed the state. And the person who helped him do that was none other than Herbert Chitebo. And out of that association between Nyerere and Chitebo came the Chinese aspect. The Chinese aspect came about because there was a split between Russia and China, Sino-Soviet split, about which line to follow socialist development. Our side, one side took the pro-Chinese line, became ZANU forces. The other side remained with the Soviet line, and it became the Signal forces. So we got the best of the two revolutionary trends of the geopolitics of the time. And the man, again, who is enjoying institutional memory about all this, is our president. I felt I had to go through this so that you have an appreciation of where ZANU-PF has come from and how it continues to discharge the role of giving prosperity to the people of Zimbabwe as they chart their affairs on the global stage. And the success is palpable. The relationship with China is now given as a steel plant. It has given us an advanced lithium industry. That's China and the United Nations vetoing the 2008 resolution, which we got Zimbabwe's fate to be that of Iraq. So as at the height of American unipolarism, the British and the Americans had just invaded and conquered Iraq, and they thought they would do the same, and they wanted to use the United Nations, and China vetoed that. It has never vetoed resolutions of the United Nations Security Council. It exercised it on behalf of Zimbabwe. So this is I'm emphasizing the relationship because it's a relationship which has given us our military backbone. It has now given us the capacity to withstand sanctions from the West over 2 decades, to the point where the American Congress is now talking of repealing sanctions because they failed. Other African countries will be buckled under sanctions, but Zimbabwe did not. So the relationship with China is very consequential. In the highlight of this year's achievements at the diplomatic front was the invitation of our president to the 80th anniversary of the founding of Zimbabwe. He was the Liberation Army, of which he was an original student. When they were trained, he trained under the Army of China. We trained under instructors in Tanzania. He did it with the original. And yes, that relationship is now a 5-star relationship. It matters when a part which is fledgling in the 1960s can forge a relationship 6 decades later, which is so important when that country with which you forged a relationship becomes the second largest economy in the world and very soon become the number one economy of the world. There are a lot of things which are happening at the geopolitical level. You know that the dollar is now, the petrodollar is virtually dead. The petrodollar has been the currency upon which America has been growing the world. If you wanted to buy petrol, you had to use US dollars, you had to buy US dollars. That has changed now. Saudi Arabia, which is the biggest supplier of petrol, of oil, now uses C1 in dealing with China. India and Russia use the rupee. We are getting into a multi-currency world where absolute mastery of the world by America is giving in to a multipolar world. And Zimbabwe's friend, who was a third world periphery state in the 1960s, is now emerged as the dominant trade economy of the world. Every country in the world, their biggest trading partner, number one, is China. So out of this trading partner comes economic power. Out of economic power comes financial powers. And we are the only country which trades in the most difficult currency in the world, US dollar. And all the US dollars belong to us. They are ours. They are not a gift from America. And that has been achieved by President Mnangagwa in the last 5 to 6 years of the Second Republic, to de-dollarize the economy, to de-dollarize, because my dollars are now appealing in American game. You could not say it's around the policy. To the full member, Papa, here, until relying on the Federal Reserve Bank of America. This is the strength the president is even to President Lee Nanga. So when he enjoys that marriage with the electorate, that happy marriage with membership of the party, it's end. It's not flippant. It's actual end. He has worked hard to be where he is with the communion of the electorate and of the membership of SANU-PF. We are also carrying big economic initiatives at a regional level. Just last week, our policy meeting followed the lead of our ANC friends in South Africa to fully discuss the steel sector. And we are now looking at dovetailing the steel sectors of Zimbabwe and South Africa. We are pursuing that at the highest policy level of the two sister liberation movements. So our Secretary General is reaching out to his counterpart in South Africa. And this is the blessing of the two leaders of Zimbabwe and South Africa, all our alliance to the liberation war days, because our strategic assessment is that, of course, there's Samora Machel. I can't talk of President Nyerere without talking of President Samora Machel. I already mentioned to you that we invited Chitepo and Tungwarara to come and deploy Zambia forces through Frelimo's forces in an advancing guerrilla warfare against the Portuguese. For clarity, what had happened was that for many years, the Rhodesians had used the Zambezi River as the management line. You try to cross the Zambezi River, the Rhodesians are on the other side. Dug out canoes from Zambia, shooting at Zambia and Sipho from 1966 when we started the war. So it was very easy to deploy across the Zambezi River. It's a big river. It's Africa's fourth largest river. So Frelimo advanced from Tanzania and crossed the Zambezi River into Tete province. When it crossed into Tete province, Rhodesia was alarmed because it meant that there was a possibility of Zala forces or Zimbabwe Zipra forces coming through Mozambique, crossing under the protection of Frelimo, Zambezi River, then coming into Rhodesia on open terrain, Mavradona, past Sinaloa. So the Rhodesian army was around. What did they do? They decided to deploy their forces into Mozambique because they were saying the Portuguese army was very weak because it was coming from Portugal, it was not fighting for its territory. Unlike the Rhodesians who said it was settlers were fighting for our territory. So when they deployed their army into Mozambique to fight against Frelimo, Samora Machel and Mondlane then reached out to Simpra and San, to Chitepo and JZ, to say, can you guys bring your forces so that we can pin your Rhodesians at home so that they don't cross into Mozambique. And at that time, Simpra was not quite ready. Sanla was ready. And Chitepo and Tungwarara ended up as an allies of Samora Machel and Zimbabwe. And our army could now cross the Zambezi under the protection of Frelimo and the Northeast Offensive. The legendary Northeast Offensive came out of that alliance. That's an aspect which I just felt I had to highlight, but I want to come back to say that we are doing well as an economy because of President Tim Mnangagwa. And this relationship, he has got institutional memory of where it came from over the years. And these pictures are events which happened with him for his life. So that's where it is today. We are very lucky to have a leader who has survived, and that's why he's respected by his peers in the region, all of them. They respect him. The same respect which we accord him as an electorate, as a party, is the one which enjoys among his friends. So out of that relationship, we are now forging an even closer union in SADC. And we are looking at 3 countries, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and South Africa, forming what is a steel union, a coal and steel union. Because no industry, no product forges the development of a country better than steel. Steel is food. It's what food is to the human diet, steel is to the building of a nation. And President Mnangagwa has shown exceptional capabilities, acumen, by establishing a thoroughly modern steel industry, which has attracted the admiration of his peers in the region. And because of the leadership of Zimbabwe in the raw steel production, South Africa is now reaching out. They have the most advanced downstream fabrication steel on the continent. All those cars in South Africa are manufactured out of there. So we are forging that relationship, but we are taking it further by bringing in Mozambique, because steel production and fabrication requires energy, and no country in the sub-region is as endowed as Mozambique with energy. The river Zambezi is very powerful in Mozambique, and there are 4 falls, cataracts in Mozambique, Camporabasa, Panamkua, Parashem, and I think another one, where we want to harness the same river many times, the same water, to generate hydroelectricity. But also Mozambique has got the 3rd largest resource of gas in the world after Russia and Qatar. And the Americans are investing nearly $5 billion into Mozambique for their gas infrastructure. So we should be able to piggyback on that investment, which is destined for China, for India, for Turkey, for Europe. We will now have a chance to piggyback on the infrastructure and carbon and build power stations and then generate electricity for the industrialization of our region. And we are very lucky because between Zimbabwe and South Africa, all the minerals which produce steel, we are dominant on the global stage. 85% of the ferrochrome, which is the main alloy for carbon steel construction, is shared between Zimbabwe and South Africa. The Bushveld complex, geological formation in South Africa, and the Great Dyke geological formation in Zimbabwe. The two of them, they contain 85% of the ferrochrome, which is needed for making steel, carbon steel for construction, one which does bridges, masts, railway lines, pylons of electricity. So that requires electricity, and Mozambique brings in an energy bank into the relationship. The vision of our president, the vision of President Ramaphosa, and the vision of President Chama is that when we join forces, there should be no region which produces steel cheaper than Southern Africa. We should determine the price of steel on the global market. I am saying this out in tandem with what I was telling you about vision, about ZANU in the past. I'm now giving you about vision of ZANU, PF, and the liberation movement about where we are going. What am I saying? I am highlighting that the sacrifices of the generations, Samora Machel and the Soweto 76 generation, are not in vain, because the possibilities which we are now realizing as a united force in the region are such that they will fulfill the dreams of sacrifice. Because sacrifice was only for the prospect of prosperity. And that's our shared vision. And our president is snug in the center of that vision about where we want to go as a sub-region, about where Southern Africa want to be in global affairs. And we are also very lucky that as we move to electrical vehicle mobility, our two neighbors, Zambia and Congo, they contain most of the cobalt and the copper, which is accounting for the electric battery industry of the world. So if we have a steel industry in South Africa and an electric storage energy battery industry between Zambia and DRC, we are assured that Africa will become very powerful. And that what happened in the 19th century when Europe came and colonized us and made us slaves and colonies will never be repeated, because Africa will be so strong. This is the vision which President Mnangagwa carries from the time when he was a young man to up to where he is today, in his 80s. Very strong, very energetic, very alert as he discharges the affairs of Zimbabwe. We've had a good success with the stability of the currency, now which is strengthening. It's no small feat. We have had good success with the steel industry. We have had good success with our agricultural industry. We are now looking at exporting wheat. Remember, 3 years, 4 years ago, we would have been scrounging around looking for grain from Ukraine, from Russia, to support us through. Now, no matter how much bread we eat, it's homegrown wheat we're using, to the point where our granaries are full. We are now thinking of exporting to our friends, to our neighbors. We are now copying the idea of how Zimbabwe is turning the African savannas into a food basket. Our president has done something which had never been done by the African savannas before. In colonial times, African savannas were used to produce fancy crops. There's tobacco, cocoa, sisal, those crops, cotton. Once the continent starved, we produce those crops for the world, for the industries of the West, whilst the continent starved. Zimbabwe has changed. It's flipped the coin around. African savannas are now used to produce food so that the country doesn't starve. So we are now a template by the World Food Program by the Food and Agricultural Organization. We are now a template that African savannas can equally produce food crops so that the young and teeming African population, which is growing, by the way, probably in the next 2030, 2050, Africa's population will be twice that of Europe. That was not the case 50 years ago, 60 years ago. Africa's population was half of that of Europe. So we are on the continent, the young population, we are the continent of the future. We need to produce food. And we have the African savannas which have never been used, like the prairies or the pampas or the European, the blessed soils of Ukraine. The African savannas were never used for product. Zimbabwe has shown that it can be done. And who is the leader who has shown that? President Edi Nagabu. This is good. This is no small things. You take them lightly. But for a continent which used to go around for begging for food, it's very important. It adds to vitality of the African continent. So our granaries are full because of the policy of the President of the Republic. We have achieved steady figures in tourism, security and safety, which is associated with Zimbabwe, together with our scenic Victoria Falls and the other, made us become a coveted destination of tourism, according to the authoritative Forbes magazine, the foremost business publication of the world. This is not a small thing. We need to hit our chests as a country. But we also have a very, very active diaspora, which has come back home in droves. 3 diasporas, the white one from the 70s, the white one from the 80s, when they ran away from majority rule. The first one ran away from the war, 1970s, white diaspora. Then there's the black diaspora with the meltdown of the economy after 2008. All of them are voting back home. So on this Christmas, we are going to be entertaining so many Zimbabweans coming back home. Before they would be sending money to buy meal in this month of hunger. Because normally the season is at its end, cropping season. So hunger stocks from November, December to January. And we will be looking upon the diaspora to help us pull through. That is over now. The diaspora is coming to celebrate. They are bringing their US dollars. They are coming to build homes. They are very proud about what is going on at home. You see every other week on television, the diaspora is coming home to give themselves awards for their performance in the diaspora from different national jurisdictions across the world. Zimbabweans perform well enough, doesn't matter which jurisdiction it is, because they are educated at home. We are very educated. And where does that come from? Again, from the institutional capacity we built over the years during the war. We built the capacity to deliver education on a scale Africa has never done in Zimbabwe. These are the achievements of ZANU-PF as a party. So I came here to extol the virtues of a party. I joined as a young man living in university, a party where the young people paid the ultimate sacrifice and we know them. A party which continues to confound about what it can do, but a party which also thrives upon visionary leadership of a forward-looking young man of the 1960s, who continues to read the geopolitical landscape and the financial and economic parameters of modern nation building in a way which has made this country begin to grow at a rate which even those who do not like to see it succeed now actually acknowledge. You know, when you begin to be praised by the IMF and the World Bank, it simply adds to the adage that nothing succeeds like success. And this is the story of ZANU-PF. This is the story of the people of Zimbabwe. But above all, this is the story of President Mutsvangwa as the leader of Zimbabwe. I felt there was not much in this because we've been succeeding to confound all your prophecies about nuclear bomb, about Hopewell, about Geza, about what will come out of Jamaica, about this and that. All those things have come to naught. So since they are not newsworthy anymore, we just felt we had to go through the paces of the successes which have made them become unnewsworthy. This is the story of ZANU-PF, the story of President Mutsvangwa, and the story of the people of Zimbabwe. I think I'm ready to answer any questions.
Any questions? Could you please help me?
Also, it is the end of the year. You have things which may be outstanding in your mind about the fate which may befall ZANU-PF again, which we don't foresee because we are part of it to success. But we don't mind. Ask anything. Don't feel inhibited. Anything, I'll answer.
Your name, media organization.
So, no, since you did Mutsvangwa, I was going to ask if you as an individual with presidential ambitions, number one, and then number two.
I didn't go into can you come again? It's such an important question because they also need to hear it. Otherwise, they will say I'm creating questions. So, can you speak loudly so that it's your question and I will answer it?
Exactly my question, which is not easy for you. My question is do you as an individual have ambitions to be president? What's the
I don't want to answer questions which are imagined.
Once more, my name is Sean. Again, my question to Ambassador Mutsvangwa is, do you as an individual have ambitions to be president, both of the ruling party as well as the country? Number one. Then number two, are you allowed in the party to actually openly express those ambitions? Thank you.
First of all,
Do you have ambitions to be president?
myself.
Yes.
Oh. See, yeah. You see, I am here addressing you, all of you, as the spokesperson of ZANU-PF. I am here addressing you as the spokesperson of President Mutsvangwa, first President of ZANU-PF. I have no role here to address you as the spokesperson of Mutsvangwa. So, if you have good questions about what Mutsvangwa may think about leadership, I am sure that I will try to find a spokesperson for Mutsvangwa who then speak on my behalf about that issue. But when I am here now, I have no role other than to speak as the spokesperson of ZANU-PF and the spokesperson of President Mutsvangwa. So don't put me into play. I am not into play because that's not my role here right now. Does that answer it?
In the point that you say anything, I just ask based on on that open that A question, so I accept me to any slide of your kind. I'm saying, as the spirit that you say in the question, it's not meant to
Yeah, but that's why I've answered to say, I'm answering questions as the spokesperson of ZANU-PF. I'm not questioning, I'm not answering, because otherwise I have no role here if I assist to be spokesperson of ZANU-PF. Yes, I can't answer for Mutsvangwa because it's not a play on this particular dynamic.
Perfectly understood.
Yes. And political ambitions, you can all, everyone who comes into politics naturally aspires to be elected to rise. That's why we have elections. It's at every level. The contest for leadership through elections is an expression that everyone can have an idea of becoming a president. Because the ultimate prize of political ambition is to be the apex leader at the top. So it's natural that in Zambia people should aspire to become leaders. It's natural. Otherwise they should not be there. And if they want, they can express it within the party. But then the party has got resolutions where those ideas are winnowed out. And if your idea loses, if you are still a member, you comply with the wishes of the majority. You understand? Because you want to lead by a democratic process. That's what ZANU-PF is, the parliament. I know my credentials, I know there are no other attributes other than being voted in ZANU-PF. And that you may have a history as a businessman, that you may have a history, or you conjure up a history about your military credentials, or you want to conjure your credentials as Mkruenganga, or Manana Matsibaba. All those things, everyone has got some attributes, but those credentials are not the ones which determine what you become a leader. You go to have your ideas, go through the democratic ethos of the party. But because we are a revolutionary party, if your ideas are defeated, you must fall back to the resolution of majority. And that's how this country is also run. So we have no problem about ambition in ZANU-PF. We are allowed. And you can have ambition, but it must have its parameters, and its parameters are determined by the fact that they pass the past master of democratic ethos. Karawari was hopeful out in that party conference. And so whether businessmen don't juxtapose leadership in business to entitlement to become the next president of ZANU-PF. Ukanamata weMatsibaba usati unamata wako mukuru wati wausondiita kuti ndiite mukuru weZANU-PF. That's what I tell you support ZANU-PF is running. Does that answer me? Thank you so much. I'm happy you're satisfied.
Do you have anyone else with a question? Yes?
Good afternoon. My name is Anna Chibam. I'm a journalist with Anna Chibam, newslevel.com. Okay. My question is in relationship to the issue of currency and the use of the US dollar and zinc. It seems there's a crisis that is silent. If you go to a shop, I'm just giving you an example, you're forced to buy things that you don't want because there's no loose money for people in retail. So I wanted to know, there's been a lot of industrialization, construction, but the issue of currency is not been really resolved to make life easier for consumers who are buying products on the market. How does ZANU-PF, as a ruling party, how is it going to inform the government so that this issue can at least be resolved so that people can do their businesses without hindrances. Thank you, sir.
I'll answer that. See, the issue of currency has been decided by the productivity of this government. They have worked hard in the last 5 to 6 years to earn US dollars in such abundance that they've banalized the American currency. Everybody here has got US dollars in his pocket. I remind you, they are not given by the American government to you. Because even at home, America does not give its own citizens US dollars for free. I lived in New York for 6 years. I went to school there, I worked there. Hapana panokupiwa ma-US dollars naAmerica kuma-American citizen. Saka ukaona ma-US dollars ari mumwe mamwe wose zvaurezvo. Watoasenzi here, because there is nothing in you which could pretend you to have more than them for free, which when America cannot even give its citizens for free. So feel good. Emotions were till sharp, full men could damn the currency is superpower. This is a Zimbabwean feat. We are working hard. Tobacco farmers in young people digging gold in abundance. This is what makes us have so much US dollars in the economy. Whatever supermarket is in South Africa, I'm talking about US. Zimbabwe. Some of the best foods in the world are now food lovers in London. Because there's no reason you talk about US dollars for American food say if you can get US dollars for next to the This is the vitality of this economy, which you need to be proud about that. And if you consider that we had no currency in 2008, we lost a currency. And we went into the Second Republic without a currency. And President Mnangagwa has now restored the currency, and the currency has been made the US dollar. On our terms, not on American terms. Hatina permission yatakapiwa na America kusenza mari yao. Takamwenda pamusika pa the market global marketplace Dubai. Kwakutekesa gold kwakutodzoka kwatakazadza kafuti rema US dollars muno. Kugona kwatiri kuita. So when we then add an steel, which used to waste about 1 billion, 500, 600, 700 million US dollars, now we are producing and we are selling. These are good things, they strengthen the economy. Hey, I'm never businessmen. Businessmen are saying, this is the first December, Christmas, where they've gone into Christmas without worrying about the rate of the currency possible. But businessmen, I'm actually not worrying what is it. As we used to wake up and businessmen, I think all of them were in parks or in school, biggest company to collect cash in the country, chicken. And we used to every day to wake up and what will be the rate. Now no more. The rate is that the rate is strengthening. So I want you to understand, we have no issues about currency from the perspective of the use in the economy. What we have is the availability of the currency to the general populace. And it's a challenge. Even yesterday I was reading. The management of distributing my coins in an economy is not easy. Only if the coins are the currency by which the nation is operating, then you have the economies of scale to distribute coins all over. Because you are operating now money is here. It's here. In this now money is in many forms now. It's in a card, in a credit card. And with Starlink going all over the country, money is everywhere. Saka kuti uchikwanisa kuti urane system yokuenda kumukura kunodonhedzera mari ikoko wozoidzosa futi ari macoins. This is an expensive affair as we are transitioning to digital currency. These are the challenges which are being faced by the Reserve Bank. Kana uchitsvaga currency pafoni pako, simzemo akamboshoterwa nezingi pafoni pake one US dollar pafoni pake, ndiyo day to day operate. Ndiani ndangauri kuti ndinawo mari yangu mazingi kana ma-US dollar ari pabasa achisipwa ndekutadza kuita transaction yawo ashaiwa because the currency. So in that format of digital currency, there's no shortage because it's easy to transport an electron as a piece of data. You can do it by air, by waves. No man go amacoins are playing by airwaves electronically. But when it is movement by physical means logistics, imagine how reserve pick up ana mushikashika vakapaka everything varoda kutakura mari kuenda nayo kutm kana kuprimary agent mazviona. These are the challenges which we are doing in a transition. So the best way is to include digital connectivity so that wherever you are, you have access to your money through the digital format. This is how money now has become. Money has taken the form of a digital currency. This is the trend. So my challenges are that that's I repeat, if your money is in this form, you have no shortage of US dollars or 6. But yataka kuti ushinda iti so. Ndokutakura sangana inenge iri yemapoints ye. Watoda kutotsvaga kuisa mubhasi. Kungoenda kuenda ikoko varika kuisa mubhasi. Watosimudza security company. Faucets. Kubva pabhangi. Nayo kuenda kuti kozonochiitwa yayo. You see, we are in a transforming world of artificial intelligence, of digital economy, of many other things. So these are some of the challenges which you face as your infrastructure strives to match up to new forms of currency expression. What is the answer? The answer is to spread digital literacy and digital connectivity all over the country. And when the president made a decision himself last year, could Starlink, I will authorize it as the president. He was addressing them. Because now the message does not have to come through a base station which needs to be built. It comes through a satellite, much like rain or sunlight comes. Numawira kuita information makafoni. Hazvisina basa kuti uri papi. Zuva rinongorova chete, mvura inongonaya chete. So if we can have more, and I'm told now, in fact, I'm not told, Huawei and Starlink now, they've got phones which can link directly to the satellite. We are getting there very soon. So your issue is solved, you understand? The challenge is how do you try to, do you have the economies of scale to justify the distribution of coins, let alone, and of notes, let alone coins, they are physical. To the remote areas, chitumira motikari vachinja vatengesa mandere. Watumira pickup truck kuti supply tick or suspense or sent kuti riite transaction ifambe. Zvaza petu yes. Zvaza kuti ndara. Is there that's, I think I'm not from the central bank, but I've tried to answer as best as I can. There's someone who did financing or one. federalistic view. So these are some of the challenges. I hope it answers you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. My name is Sophia. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ambassador. My name is Sophia Mabranga. I'm a freelance reporter. I write for a publication called Citizen News. My question is, President Trump has just issued a new travel ban that is going to be effective on 1 January 2026 to about 39 countries to restrict or fully bar new visas, travel visas to 39 countries, Zimbabwe included. I wanted to find out the party position to say what is ZANU-PF's position regards this, and what is your message to the Trump administration? Thank you.
Look, Americans elect their government, and out of the election of their government, it governs them according to their sovereign wish as Americans. What they decide to do about entry or exit into their own country is their business. It's their business. What we would hope is that a modern economy like America is tolerant of the globalizing nature of the facet of human civilization. We've always become a global village, and free movement of people as much as possible encourages that interaction among people. If countries become paranoid or xenophobic, it's a retrograde step. But by the same time, we do not Zimbabwe try to prescribe what other countries should be doing according to their immigration policies. It is their business. We are hoping to create a country which does so well that it doesn't have to export its own people abroad for economic reasons. But at the same time, we also appreciate that there's an even distribution of knowledge, expertise, and intellectual property at any particular time. And it is the interaction of human beings which bridges that gap. So anything which makes human beings interact and exchange ideas, it adds to some total of goods which have been produced by humanity. It adds to prosperity. And that's where I'm concerned.
Good afternoon, Ambassador Mutsvangwa. My name is Samuel Takawina. I'm with CBA. And my question, I have three questions. CBA. Ambassador, you spoke of jealous and ambitious suitors within and outside the party. If those from within the party, if they been dealt with, because you said that it's related to the ruling parties, the United Front. Should I go on with?
Yes, they've been dealt with.
Okay. Should I go on with the questions or
Complete your question, but I can answer it one by one, but before of others, complete your questions so I answer it.
Okay. The second question is how far is the party through its legal department, how far is the party with the principles for the extension of the presidential term? And lastly, there's been speculation that the ascendance of businessmen without Tabire into the central committee is stepped towards moving towards presidency. What's your response to this speculation?
I'll answer the last one first. Ascendance into the central committee of ZANU simply because you've been voted to be a member of the central committee. in the voting process or in the nomination process, but it is a voting process in the electoral college. There is no provision clause to say that we don't know said of to connect and president. As you go. Because if it was that, it was there. The people of the Central Committee who are voting for you would be acting outside the mandate of their organ, that particular body. Akusiko kunovoterwa mapresident amangwana patiketi iroro raunopindana. If it's part of the general aspiration of membership, which may be shared by all the other Central Committee members, including those who are voting at people who are voting there, it's fine. But can also who voted whenever I was a president. It's a subjective thing. That exists only in your mind. It does not, and it does not register politically or what was the decisions. You voted because a president. So I don't consider that merit. Because that attribute is not there. You understand? You understand? So, you may dream. Understand? You have voted Obama. Share that president. There's nothing wrong with that. But to think that because you've been voted, therefore you're going to become the candidate of the president, you are misdirecting yourself. It does not work like that. So, as to what the person may subjectively think, I can't answer for him. Because I mean, I'm not voted. I voted on Central Committee. That one politically. And I'm voted on Central Committee. Therefore, and I'm so, when I buy one who goes different and come answer. When do you he also didn't put it up for saying, I swap like so even when you deal with the guidelines of the party, it's constitutional. Nowhere does the party say because they have been elected in the Central Committee, therefore you are going to become elected, you are a candidate to become a president. As we point to, because you wrote away I think was deliberate on the issue of Comrade Gray becoming a member of the Central. Apana pakatakapozotaura mupolitiki saka pane dzinofunga dzekuti mangwana ada kuzoita president makaende futi papayo saka we mark what is available at that particular time and it is only a selection to a particular post at that particular time under the parameters under the constitution of the party at that particular time. What you may subjectively think and what you may tell your friends and what you may want to spread on the social media. I think I should say it. I hope it answers you so. Yeah, that makes sense.
Answered.
Yeah.
How will the ambitious status have been dealt with?
And I repeat, there is nothing wrong with ambition. That's what makes me. But there may be something wrong with the jealous, but it's a human attribute. But the young is as is right, but you know, but then manage your jealous so that it doesn't infringe upon both politic and its constitution. That's okay. Ukazoito manage ambition yako nejealous necovetousness yechigaro ine yakuti pamwe vanhu vakufunga kuti kuda kupisa mvura anopisani zvozotinetsa kuzazisire mupepo isi kwenda anopisa medzete in particular time ndiya president ndiye anenge achipisa panguva iyo saka mamapisiro omwe anoitwa kune zvimwe zvisvoto tiniinauma varidzi vari kupisa kwazviri kupisa iko kungavapedzerana musakana tiniina usada congress makaioneka kuda kupika conference manikaniti Umbotiedzera zvekutaurwa nezvi neconfident undozotaurwa nebati pakuva imwe. It answers. Another question. Okay, thank you.
My question is, last week the government issued a taxes. All the religious were like our matters of Last week government issued a gazette was called one business to surrender 75% to locals of the 3 years. Will this not push away investors? If you can also specify which sectors of the activities?
Will you surrender 75% of what?
Of state to local.
You have the memo from it. I can't quite do.
Okay, she's saying answer.
There was a what?
A gazette which was saying companies should surrender 75% to the local
State.
states, to our local states.
Local states.
Yes.
Again, can you stand the so
Last week government issued the gazette was for an on businesses to surrender 75% stake to locals of many years. Will this not push away investors? And if you can also specify which sectors will be targeted?
I haven't looked at the gazette. Now that I've posed the question now, so I have a question to Minister of Finance, but if there is such, there may have been an oversight. These things need to be looked at. Because the President's policy as well was open for business. So anything which, of course, if by examination, if the foreigners are affected, or if investment is affected, it is brought to the attention of the President. I'm sure he will direct his cabinet to look at that closer. The policy of the President is to say Zimbabwe is open for business, open from investment, and investment be treated on a basis whether it be domestic or foreign. Investment is no kind. So I don't know how this is drafted. I haven't seen it, but I'm happy that you've alerted us to that aspect, and I will definitely forward it to the Minister of Finance, who is proved to be a very competent member of the Trinity Economic Management Authority. I'm sure he will do that closely. But as Ken said, anything which militates against investment, what is your, you will be happy about that.
My name is Benio Hiota. I'm from 260 Church. And my question to the Ambassador Mutsvangwa is, we have seen some several communication from several party secretaries, including yourself, about the status of the co-option going to Tungwarara. But we've seen him since come out grants and blessing, certain addressing some government, where he was the last was secretary about those communications. Say they were top party members. If they are fighting President Mugabe's way on the ground, how do you also was unfortunate?
Look, the issuance of statements by the party authority, that's the aim, is the spokesperson of the party. As much as possible, try to follow what I say. because that is the position of the party. Yeah, people, it's in politics, people may get excited and they issue certain statements. But once I consult, I try to make sure that you get the most authoritative viewpoint of the party. So if in doubt, follow the party spokesperson. That's what I would say. Secondly, when provincial organs deliberate on certain issues, we, as much as possible, give weight to the decisions of the provincial organ in that particular area. And when it is a party province, like Manicaland, second most populous province, we always give due weight to what they say. When they make recommendations, they come to the political level, where final decisions are made. So in this instance, the recommendation from Manicaland has been made. We expect that it will come to the political level, and the political level will give its weight to the matter, and the decision shall come out of it. So anything before the political level says, I would say the default is participation. When the political bureau says something, I will again come back to and tell you what the political bureau is what they say. Look, it's in politics, people may throw bumps at each other. We are more seasoned in the revolution, those who have been with the revolution for a long time. We would hope that politics in ZANU-PF does not become politics of bumps, like happens in other opposition parties, because I'm just part of the issue. So that's how we are. Notice that President Makataura said it here in his speech that we expect to go to Achawar where Wachatiza, whenever Makuri, no pharmacy. That stricture would apply to those people who also coming. It does not mean that I'm judging their eligibility or otherwise to the same community. No, that is a position to the political. I'm just saying they should follow what the president said. Mbopinda mudzidzi vanga vari zvinoitwa sei kuzi yangotukana musanje it's not the same way. Did I answer you? Is there any other question? Then come again.
My name is Sean Modo, 260 times once more. Ambassador Mutsvangwa, I would like to ask your comment on the conduct of Chinese investors who are citizens or who are resident in Zimbabwe. We've seen a lot of Chinese employers assaulting Zimbabwean workers, and also heard about difficulties in paying their workers. Number one, and then number two, it would seem also some of those investors, when they conduct their mining activities, they are not as circumspect, or they are not very environmentally friendly. They seem to be reckless in their conduct in their mining activities. Would you want to comment on that?
I want to say that when people invest or entities invest, they invest under Zimbabwean company law. So I would expect that the people who are referring to, they are companies. If they are companies, then they are corporate citizens of Zimbabwe as companies. Like any other. There is no selective corporate law or company law in Zimbabwe for Chinese, or for Indians, or for Bushmen. The corporate law company is the same for everyone. So if there is an infringement by those companies, they should be taken to the appropriate courts to be tried under the relevant tenets of what company law. What I'm saying is, ZANU-PF will never compartmentalize investment by racial origin. We are a non-racist revolutionary party. Artificially, we do not match Chinese companies, we do not buy Indian companies, we do not buy European companies. As you know, my ideology is separate. So we would naturally try to distance ourselves from people who want to invoke racial overtones but corporate conduct, attitude, separate. Attitude, those are the guys is a non-revolutionary party. So I don't subscribe to the idea that my company managed ZANU-PF like that. ZANU-PF, you know what we my investors. If they are doing certain things, take them to the courts under the company law. Because tikada kuita mbili kuti tiri compartmentalize investment nerudzi rwevanhu tatorasika hatidadi kuzambia. Macomplaints amutaura anofanira kuendeswa kumakotsi nevanhu vacho vaita sei vavhiringidzwa. Kana ari muIndia, kana ari muSomali, kana ari muIndonesian atadzwa woendeswa kuti unotongwa nemhosva yake yaita. Kwete seSomali, but as a corporate citizen of Zimbabwe, as a law. So we only work on the corporate citizens of Zimbabwe, the law under company law. In the amount of Chipai, I see it thousand kutsvaga marudzi hatizvi patikwe. Kune vamwe vane jerasi rekukundwa nemainvestors matsva ari kunzwa napresident. Tinovabvunza kuti neunyanzvi hwenyu hwemainvestors hamufunga kuti ndoshasha. Madiwo kungotivakira masteel plants, wotovakira malithium plants, wotovakira mapower stations. Nemainvestors enyu hamufunga kuti haabviriwa. Toona performance yavo, tokombea vamwe vacho vari kutadza under company law. And because companies decide things wrong, that's what the choose. That's how business is done. So, anama guru, vanoda kutsvaga kuti titsvage kuvengo nemamarudzi hatizvibviri pakuzambira hatizvi zvekutsvaga marudzi. So zvinenge ndo zvandaona mupeseni kutsvaga marudzi. Saka kana muri kutsvaga marudzi isusu takazvatopokanani hatizvi. Asi kana paine vari kutadza under corporate law, under company law, vaendese kupi kumakotsi vanotongwa. We must make our law company law operate, and we must make our citizens seem to be making the company law operate. Because nyika ndeni, and I want to end up. Hakuna kwakazongotumirwa ana nemaChina muAfrica kuuya kuzoita enforce mitemo yavo muAfrica. Last time it was done by the British and French and the Portuguese. Ndovakatumira army dzavo, saka takazopedzera tavo. I have not seen any army in Africa sent by the People's Government of the Republic of China kuenda kuAfrica kuti enforce kuti enda une Zimbabwe ngaite zvatinoda isusu chena. Havasi kumbozviita. So if the police and the state apparatus in Zimbabwe and the laws operating in Zimbabwe if the judiciary operating in Zimbabwe, then why do you want to bring the ratio over to when China never sent an imperial army to go and put its strictures upon Africans? Upon Africa, there's no Chinese imperial army. So see, this is called yellow period. I grew up in Rhodesia. They used to say, China, because I look support us and forces that the Soviet Union, this is communist period, this is yellow period. We are above that as a revolutionary party. We don't subscribe to parochial reactionary ideologies. No, we don't. I hope that answers. Anybody can follow up on that one, but we are a non-racial revolutionary party. We believe in the equality of human beings across the board. We never neglect human beings in terms of their color. They are all the same. That's the premise of which we will support. Because we would write around the farmer to move with our you are supporting the Russia. That's why banana Czechoslovakia and not in the GT and Yugoslavia. To move with our let's be right to write in the Greek. We are a non-racial revolutionary democratic party. We don't subscribe to that. In this we will instill to every single son member. And the jealousies of other nations who are losing in the competition for investment in Zimbabwe, we don't entertain them. Kana vachiona, ngavaise mari paground. Put your capital on the ground. Muradza kuti hatibvi. Because who wins is the people of Zimbabwe when competitive capital comes to take advantage of the resources, the creativity, and the discipline of the people of Zimbabwe to work. That's what matters to us. Not about chocolate. And by the way, just for history, the reason why the small scale gold sector grew, it's because in 2009, our small sector miners, I took them to China. They saw the Chinese equipment for gold mining. It was more suitable to Zimbabwe because gold is everywhere than the South African gold mining equipment, because in South Africa gold is 3 kilometers deep. It's a heavy capital, it's not applicable to Zimbabwe. So along the way, Chinese equipment came and gold production shot up. This is the economics of why that's why the zinc is so strong today. It's equipment which is coming mostly from China. Also that 80 to 90%. And maybe also we don't have enough capital. We should try to make sure that our people have got enough capital. To run their own mines. There's nothing. Our advantage of China want to create. These are birthplaces of a new industry. It's a new industry. It's growing. But along the way, it shall be right. Because if it can deliver 40 tons of gold this year, which by the way I should have mentioned, 50 tons of gold. Those are one reserve reserves. And each time America shouts at Russia, or France, Europe threatens war, the price of gold goes up. Bamshara is happy because the price of gold means the zinc goes up, it's more reserves. So we take more gold. We should not overlook the fact that for this economy to be growing, we have to look for another source of capital beyond what we used to do in the West. I was the ambassador of the Look East policy to China. I was drafted to be the ambassador. I didn't even ask for the job in 2002. So a lot of the growth in the economy, Wange is pumping. Everyone knows Wange now. It's pumping as a town. The chimneys are put to the markets, this new capital also is coming from China. Still runs from China. So we just want to China Are here in China with a steel plant? Are here what distinguish them? There's regular. We distinguish them according to the capital which they are buying on now. Because with the regular, there's no need. Because we just roll up and the Western plant, we didn't China because the Panama one day, he would work at where I'm going to spoken to moves. Then social diplomacy of president, what shall say economic because we don't go on the street. And I'm more Kunzbaga will have you understand? We should be not straight interests. It's not something. That was my risk. This is number one. And again, and school is thank you.
Do you have anyone else?
I think we've had a good run. It's the end of the year. I've been generous with your time. We are very happy once again to be with you. All of you have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And you come back next year invigorated. Mom, say what I mean, we're not now, yes, our convicted until your president, the Mama Kate. That's it. Thank you.